Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy Freeze coming at you with a weekly live stream. And today, I'm going to talk about one last look at Ironbison and Lightspeed. Now, I know I've been keeping y'all up to date the past few weeks, but do got a couple little small changes that happened with the bot, and so just want everybody to see what they're getting as we get ready to go into this week's event. Additionally, I want to talk about there's a new game mode coming, and I kind of went over it a few weeks ago after Space Ape had their stream about it, but it's going to be called Mayhem Mode, and I'm looking forward to it. I do have my concerns about it, so we'll talk about those as well. And there's a bot that I'm thinking about taking a look at this week, and we'll talk about that as well. I think it's going to be really, really good for what I'm setting up on my team. But before we get into any of that, let's get into this week's newsletter. And this week's event is going to be called Heavy Hitters. And so it is going to be our individual Mayhem Mode event. This is going to be kind of the test bed for the Mayhem Mode, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So this is going to be your 70k legacy bot event. Like I mentioned earlier, it is going to be for Lightspeed and Ironbison. So 70k for the 5-star, and they got 36.5 for the 4-star. Let me see that real quick. I always thought it was 37.5. Yeah, it says 36.5 in the newsletter. Let's see. So you're gonna have 100 tiers total, and here's your price charts. Pretty good stuff. Yeah, now they get it. They get it there, 36.5, and then like I said, 70k for the 5-star. So they do have your typical battle zones. I'm going to explain how that's going to work a little bit with Mayhem Mode. So we'll come back to that, but just know your baseline is your typical battle zones. And in the newsletter, they're also talking about Mayhem Mode. They definitely wanted us content creators to talk about it a little bit more. So they gave us the access to go in there and look at the stuff as well as all your play testers and everything. All right, so like I said, top prize this week is going to be your Lightspeed and Ironbison. So here they got a little stats for the 4-star. So anybody that wants to do that 36.5 to get that, that's what you're going to be looking at stat wise. I'm probably going to run for the 5-star this weekend. I actually like the bot quite a bit. They gave him a little bit of additional range on the 5-star compared to the 4-star. His ability is going to last a little bit longer. This one's going to be 12 seconds compared to the 4-star that's going to be, they got it at 6 seconds. Even though that's not what's shown in the picture for the 4-star. But it's got a kind of a different effect. So a lot of people were asking what the blind effect was. And if you think about bots like, if you think like about like a dazzle strike or a bot like that that has a dazzle effect, it's pretty much like that, with the exception that they overclocked it a little bit. So essentially, it's going to stop anybody from, it's going to stop any of the defenses in the area from shooting at you, which is always, in my opinion, a good thing. Um, and right now, what's going to be cool about it is right now it doesn't really have a counter. I expect the counter to come at some point, but yeah, that'll be kind of the advantage of getting this bot. If you already got the 4-star, then the 4-star is going to update automatically. Um, so yeah. So, and that's kind of the good thing about the Legacy Batch, because if you don't know if the bot is good or not, you can go use the 4-star versions you already got if it's got a couple of levels on it already, and just try it out in some regular battles, see if you like it, and then if that's the case, you can go for that 5-star. Part of the ability 11 is talking about crowd control. So one of the things I started thinking about after I actually looked at the crowd control piece, because my tooltip was actually wrong on the test server, so I wasn't fully aware that that's what it was going to be doing. Um, but the crowd control piece says so you're going to be able to stop stuns, slows, etc. Um, so anything, basically anything that has to do with bot movement, it should be able to be affected by the ability. Well, the ability 11 will stop those effects. Um, Now, because it's a warrior class bot, it's already going to be immune to stun from the tech tree, the Titan tech tree. So, what that leads me to believe, and I've been talking about this for a little while, it makes me believe that when the tech tree changes eventually, is that going to be one of the things that you just get to choose whether or not you want to have the stun immunity? And if you choose not to have it for whatever reason, because I know most people swear by it on all their warrior class spots, is this something that's going to be able to stop it? I do think it's kind of short. They got it at like 4 seconds for the 5 star, so it's one of those things that's worth looking at. And you also going to gain a max health boost on the ability 11, which is pretty huge. I think on the 5 star they had it at 100%. On the 4 star they had it at 50%. Let's see, the G1, which I showed last week, it's going to have a vector effect. I'll talk about that in a little bit. It actually vectors twice, and so that makes it. It kind of made me wonder about a different concept too, because I was thinking if you got bots with the vector prime core, and then you have a lot of people are using T2 Megs and Optimal Optimus in the outpost, who has a vector effect with him as well, and then you use this guy. Are we kind of leaning towards a defensive meta where you're just gonna have multiple vector bots? So that's just one of the things that was on my mind. I was talking to it with a couple of playtest buddies yesterday. So just one of the things that comes to the front of my mind. Now the saga schedule, that is not the correct saga schedule. So I will show you. Well, I'm gonna come back to that graphic right there. So that's actually, and I'm going to jump out of camera real quick. That's the correct soccer schedule right there. So we're going to start off this week with the 5 star legacy event, prime shard event next week, and then we get the 50K combat event following that. And then, because like I said last week, it's going to be the 40th anniversary of Transformers. So just looking forward to seeing some special goodies for that. Then you get a combiner event, medic crystal event, and then we get endurance. So and that's what we're going to be looking forward to for the next few weeks. But yeah, I guess they had a cut and paste like template that they use, and they put this saga schedule in there by accident. Be sure to check out all your content creators, myself, Soldier, Sunstreaker Waza, and all the unofficial ones as well. Many of them are in the chat. So if you guys got any channels out there in the chat, go ahead and feel free to share your links. Let people check you out, and I'll shout them out as well once we get the shout outs. And speaking of shout out to Omega Crusher who made this who made this awesome picture of Tarn. I actually used it as a thumbnail, and I gave him attribution. So I don't know if anybody noticed that in the bottom, but I was like artwork courtesy of Omega Crusher. But yeah, man, that's really dope. And I always said that one of these days I wanted to do like a thumbnail for somebody's artwork and stuff like that. Uh, shared it with the community, so that was my first time doing that. And then shout out to the homie Jazz and Blade, or Big Blade 297, as y'all see him in the chat. Uh, he actually got featured in the newsletter talking about his number one bot, Sandstorm. Well, I know he's a few, and he's actually got some really nice content out there with Sandstorm too. So if you hadn't seen it, go check out his channel. But yeah, definitely know he's a fan of the guy, especially since the rework and the with the ability 11 and everything. So you know, yeah, shout out to him for sharing his thoughts. I have to go put my favorite bot in there at some point. Callum, his favorite is Ratchet, so that's pretty cool. And that's all we get for the newsletter. Make sure that we check out the Space Ape stream on the 5th of September. And that's all we got for the news. So let's go flip over to the chat and see what we got. All right, so speaking of devil, I believe Big Blade 297 was the first one in the chat, one of my good friends and moderators, and like I mentioned, content creator. Excuse me, so thanks for joining. Followed by the homie Chris Harmon, another one of my moderators, good friends, and members. So thanks for joining, Chris. Another content creator, Magic TFEW, one of my teammates and good friends over at the Horde. So thanks for joining, Magic. And minus all the trolling and stuff, if you guys didn't see the stream I put up there on Saturday, I didn't have my hat on, and we had a couple of guys in there calling me Baldius Max. Another good friend and content creator, Grim Studios. Thanks for joining. Uh, Llama is in the chat, as well as the homie Daddy Pig. Thanks for joining, guys. Terror is in the chat with us, another one of my good friends and moderators. Thanks for joining, Terror. And he wants to remind you guys to like and subscribe. Um, yeah, usually I'm on Wednesdays. That's always I say that's like a sub call out because I will get up there on a Wednesday afternoon and be like, hey man, I'm gonna move my schedule. Speaking of which, so starting in mid-September, and I'll remind you guys when that time comes, I'm probably going to have to move my stream schedule for a few weeks, just because for my son's playing football, and because he is on freshman team, they'll probably be playing on Wednesdays. So more to follow on that. I'll let you know, but just a heads up, I may move. And the spot I'm looking at the same spot, but maybe on Fridays. But uh, more to follow. I have to confirm that before I commit to it. All right, let's see. We got Sir Felix 1590s with us again. Thanks for joining us, Sir Felix. Andrew Stevenson is with us again, as well as Diesel. Thanks for joining, guys. Uh, Autobot Phil is with us again, as well as one of my good friends and members, C-Mulk. C-Mulk, actually, we got that war together the other day on the same team, and then we got the war against each other the following day. So, but it was a pleasure having you. It was a pleasure having you in that war. I performed terribly, but C-Mulk was out there killing it, man. So, uh, thanks for joining us then, and thanks for joining us on the stream. Hot Llama for J Funk. Thanks for joining. Kim Bayano, another content creator. Make sure you check out his stuff. Thanks for joining. Let's see, Master Ninja is in here as well. Joining us again. Thanks for joining, Master Ninja. And we got Sky Voltages with us again. Thanks for joining, Sky. The homie Jason Guns from the DJD is joining us again. Thanks for joining. And hopefully I did not miss anybody. If I did, give me a shout in the chat. And yeah, that's what we get. So let's go and take a look at, I want to take a look at Ironbison again. Lightspeed for you guys on the Autobot side. And so this is the tooltip that we have in test. Now, when I saw the newsletter today, the newsletter is saying that it's a little bit different because they're saying the 5-star is going to have 100% health boost. But looking at the ability again, so that health boost is actually part of the ability 11, as well as the gaining immunity to crowd control effects, and that's also supposed to be 4 seconds, not 2. But so the actual ability before ability 11 is actually the blind all targets you dash through. It's 12 seconds long. It was 8 seconds the last time I was talking to you guys about it. So it is going to be 12 seconds. And the thing is, like, I'm looking at some of the pros and cons to this thing. And one of the things that I really like about this is because there's not really any counters to it, at least not yet. It does give you some flexibility with some things. So case in point, if you're on the battlefield and you come in contact with MDS, where you can't stun MDS with an EMP effect. Like this will actually work on the MDS. Oops, I almost closed out of the I almost closed out of the game there. So let's take a look at that real quick. Because for me, honestly, that's kind of a selling point. So I'll go ahead and move that, and I'll do a base trial. And I'm gonna come back to the tooltip because we got to talk about the G1. We got to talk about all kinds of stuff. So, and yeah, Sky Voltage is already in the chat saying the G1's pretty good. Yeah, we gonna come back and talk about the G1 again. I know I talked about it over the past couple of weeks, but that's actually shaping out to be one of the better G1s in the game. All right, so I'm gonna use this ability, and so for 12 seconds, and you see he's in the range of that MDS. It's not shooting back at you, and what that does is because a lot of people are starting to use exactly what I have there. They're using that Vector Prime core on it, and so it gives you some time to kind of just adjust and to try to get, when you get Vector and it's giving you two straight you gotta destroy the MDS two straight times is one of those things that I was looking at. But anything that's in that area, that blinding effect is gonna cause it to stop shooting at you. So, and if you guys heard me talk about this kind of stuff before, anytime I'm not getting shot at by something, I'm with it. So, all right, so going back to that tooltip. So with the G1, you're gonna start out at not start out. So when you get to 25% health, it's basically gonna give you a vector back in time to the location and health that you had 9.5 seconds ago. And what's interesting about that to me is that when you are at 25% health and that's when you vector. So 9 seconds ago, you're gonna probably have had a substantial amount of health. Now, this is gonna happen twice, and to be honest with you, now I don't know if people are actually going to do this or not because at the end of the day, this bot does have about, in this case, 45, almost 46k health, and I got him at captain. So could it make him a viable outpost option? Possibly. I mean, it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to get him down, but if you get him down and you find him in a crowded area, how's that actually going to work for him? So I actually want to try that real quick. I'm going to move this outpost. I got Breakdown Prime in there right now, so I switched that out. We'll put Ironbison, Killbison because Terra is watching. And I just want to see the effect that he's going to have on a team when you use him defensively. Because I mean, I've used it, but I was actually looking for other stuff uh, to see what the case was going to be with that. And let's see how that looks. So I'm going to let them just kind of just casually walk up into that outpost area, see if they can, as a team, if they pop, and yeah, there you go, they popped them, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it's not going to stop like your normal attack, but now I want to kind of look at that vector, and it's kind of crowded in there to see. All right, he just got hacked. So, and that's what I'm talking about. They kind of took him down they took him and his vector down. So I was thinking about it as a defensive option. I probably won't go in that direction because he's just not going to hold up like a lot of the other bots do in, in the upper leagues. But the vector itself is cool. The vector itself will probably help you more offensively while you're using healing and while you're using all these other ways to go about keeping them alive. 45k at captain, it is kind of low, but it's not so low that I'm using them in a support role, honestly. One of the other things, and I probably should have left that outpost there, is that the outpost it does pop outposts. Now, I was having some difficulties last week, and it was more so because we were still trying to figure out the mechanics of that in playtest. And so while we were in playtest, what they came up with, and they actually came up with this today. A lot of conversation today with Dale in the playtest chat. And so one of the things you have to do, so if you're trying to pop an outpost, and what I'm going to do as an example is I'm going to just go just near the area, and you're going to notice that it's not going to pop the outpost. But if you go directly over the outpost, then it's going to pop the outpost. So they were having some inconsistencies with it early on. Um, so they determined that, hey, as part of the bug fix process for it, there's like, hey, if you want to pop the outpost, you have to go directly over the outpost in order to make it pop, which could set up some strategies. I know a lot of times for me, there's they might be a cluster of outpost bots. I might want to pop one, but not the other. So yeah, and that could be a good thing. I'm thinking about like Deluge and Beachcomber or something like that, where you want to pop them early so that your team doesn't get hacked. So you want to, if you can pop them from range, then you do, and then let them walk to you. But then I started thinking about it, just a couple of other different strategies for it. I'll probably make a video about it at some point. But for one thing, I was thinking about using Dark Star Saber on them. If I deploy his ability early, somewhere where they are outpost up front early, and so then what they'll do is they'll end up attaching to the hologram, or even something like Fangtron. If you can time those holograms perfectly. But let me know in the chat, what do you think about the bot? Like I said, there's been plenty of updates even since last week. And let me know if you plan on going for them or not. I said, if anything, kind of like we were talking about on Saturday, this is a combiner piece at some point. So it seems to me, and like Sunstreak Awaza was talking about the same thing on his stream last week, um, going for it, even if it's just for the combiner piece. So let me check the chat and see what's going on in there. A lot of talk about llamas. Candyman can't wait for the 5-star Cyclonus event. All right, so yeah, thanks for joining Candyman, one of my good friends and members. Magic says Lamius Max. uh, I see Lou Mega joined this as well. Thanks for joining, Lou. Uh, Another one of my friends and members, Esclohasi is in there. He said, "Dang, Wednesday came quick this week," and it's probably because I streamed on Saturday, so it's like, oh man, I got another stream going on. So last week would have been longer, this week would have been shorter. J Funk says he missed the beginning. My good friend from well, in DOL right now, but he was with us in the Horde. Actually joined us for the war against Prime yesterday. Says, does this guy pop outpost or what? So yes, he does pop outpost, but the thing is, you have to go directly over the outpost. Um, so realistically speaking, you can only go over the outpost one at a time, which honestly is kind of fair for his cost. I mean, they got him at what, they got him at 3+2. Yeah, they got him at 3+2. So, and then and then nobody's going to be shooting at you that whole time as well. So, but yeah, you have to go directly over the outpost. Magic criticizing Power Core choice. He said remove Nexus. You talking about on the actual defense? Yeah, because this is my playtest account, so some stuff is probably out of order. But yeah, that's not my main account. I did get my main account though back if you couldn't tell. Magic. J Funk says we need Iron Llama. Hey, and I see my boy King Grimlock is in there, one of my buddies from Playtest. Thanks for joining, KG. And yeah, so that's what we got. But yeah, let me know in the chat. Like, are you planning on going for Lightspeed or Ironbison or not? And before you actually make that decision fully, let's talk about Mayhem Mode. So if you notice down here in the bottom right corner, they gave us in playtest today. They gave us an example of what Mayhem Mode is gonna how it's gonna go. I know there's going to be a bunch of questions. If you got questions about it, let me know in the chat. And if I don't have the answer for it, I'm probably going to wind up doing a video on strategies for how to navigate Mayhem Mode, just because it is going to change the way that we play events a little bit for those particular events. And I hadn't had enough time today. Like that we got this today in playtest while I was working, but I also work from home, so I did get to pick around at it a little bit. Um, but I hadn't picked at it too much. As you can see, I put up about 8,000 points on it already. But let's talk about it. They got last week's event name up there for the event up there, so don't really pay any attention to that. Well, the first thing, before I get into Mayhem Mode, let's go take a look. For those of you who don't have Discord, um, let's go take a look at what Dale was saying. So let me get rid of that event chart and let me cut the camera back on. And so earlier today, Dale was saying the Mayhem Mode is coming this week. He was telling everybody that if you get the 4-star Lightspeed and Ironbison, that it'll just be a free upgrade. Um, and then he started explaining how the Mayhem Mode works. So he says um, they're going to use this type for certain events, usually larger events. Um, and here, the goal is really to destroy the entire base. Now, I do know that there's a couple of things that came up in playtest today. Um, and primarily, we are saying, hey, this is supposed to cut down time, but if you have to take down the entire base instead of just taking down the HQ, it's going to make the battle itself last longer. Now, I will say, I do like the concept if it's an event where I just want to get my prizes and get on with my life. I do like the concept, and they talked about it on the live stream. I don't think that it was enough time on their 1 hour live stream when they're talking about so much stuff to really cover it. So I'll cover it here in a little bit. But the key point is that you have to destroy the entire base, and you but you do have to destroy HQ if you're going to get anything, and that's what he's talking about in that second bullet point there. Um, if you don't destroy the HQ, you're not getting shit. You're not getting you're not getting your points, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. Um, they do acknowledge that the battle modes take longer, but the key thing here is it all depends on what level your scanner is, because if you are going one zone higher than your scanner level, then you get 3.3 times the points. If you're doing your exact scanner level, then you get 3 times the event points per battle. And then if you go one zone lower, you get 2.7 times. And if you go 2 zones lower, then you get 2.4 times. So for me, my scanner, and I'll show it in a normal battle. So in my case, my scanner lets me go all the way up to the prime zone. And so that's what it does like in regular battles. But what it does is it breaks it down when you go into the actual event mode to really give you about 4. Yeah, so instead of having a whole laundry list of just different zones, it's going to break it down into the 4 zones that you might actually use. So for me, because my scanner allows prime zone, I would get 3 times the points when I'm fighting in the prime zone. So what it's going to start at is this very top one. It still shows prime zone is having, well, they added prime zone to the event now, but prime zone is going to have 320 for destroying the HQ. So if you look at the two different sets of points there, that 320 is what you get if you destroy the HQ. Um, the Mayhem bonus, the max that you could get would be 800. So let's take a look at that, see how it looks. I love this new artwork that they got, by the way, too, for the anniversary artwork. All right, so let's see. So yeah, you're going into the prime zone. And as you can tell, as you go through this zone, you're gaining points. Well, you see this bar at the top. You're gonna keep adding points to that mayhem bar at the top of the screen as you go. Now you're not actually awarded those until you destroy the HQ, but it's gonna keep a running tally of how many points you get. So you get a couple of options. What you could do is just destroy the HQ, but I don't think most people are actually gonna do that, just because I don't think most people are gonna do that because this event mode costs you 15 points per go. So every time you go into a new battle, you're gonna it's gonna cost you 15. So it does make me wonder how that's gonna work out. And I'm trying to kind of just goofing off here, but like let's get to the end of this battle real quick so you can see how that actually works. So yeah, and as you can see, it takes a while to get through those battles, and Space Ape knows that. But essentially, you could end up getting like 3 times the amount that you would get in a normal battle, or you could get 2.4, or you could get 2.7. Now that comes with some challenges. I'm actually going to stop using abilities on the back half of that base because I'm kind of slowing down because I wanted to destroy the HQ before it destroys the other stuff, but I think I might have like, yeah, I gotta. All right, so you see here, so the HQ's gone, but it still got some other stuff on the screen, which is why I kind of slowed it down. So now you got to destroy all the rest of the stuff that's out there for you to actually complete the round. Ooh, and I just showed all of that without still from that same screen, and I took the chat down. Yeah, Terry said, I see it now. He was saying switch the screen, which is fine because the game actually crashed for a second. So I'm going to show y'all that again. All right, so yeah, so like I was saying, 320 is what you get for destroying the HQ up there in Prime Zone. The 800 will be the max bonus that you could get for actually winning the destroying everything on the battlefield. It does take a little bit longer. So let's see, we'll try it on this base here in the Prime Zone. And so yeah, what you can see is you're gonna have a bunch of these points just going up to your Mayhem bar at the top. Oh, and I kind of jumped over there, so I messed that one up. But yeah, so you're gonna get those. But the thing is like this bar is gonna start filling up as you destroy stuff, but you still gotta destroy the HQ, which could make this a little bit more difficult. And it's gonna take a little bit longer too. So unless you destroy that HQ, you're not gonna get anything. And I think that's what a lot of the testers just really didn't agree with. Uh, and even some guys, when they saw it in the newsletter, just different players throughout, they were saying, "Hey, that's not gonna work the way we think it's gonna work." Now I do have a list of some concerns because what I wanted to actually do. A lot of us in larger events, we power level, and you might take one bot in your combiner, so we want to see what that looks like as well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and what a lot of us have been doing in events is we just been going in taking God Neptune. I usually take mines in zone 15. Um, and one of the things with that is it's like for me because I actually have the prime zone available in my scanner, I would actually be taking it would actually be a reduction for me to to instead of getting the 3.3, which I couldn't get anyway, um, because of my scanner. But instead of getting 3 times, I would actually be getting, I believe it was 2.4 for this. So I think it's going to change a little bit of the strategy on how we approach events because instead of just dropping one bot and then clearing everything with your combiner, um, you might have to drop more than one bot, which will probably get you about the amount of XP that you used to get. Because I'd say, um, and I gotta see how many, how much XP you get. Now I saw the percentage was, but I do want to get some clarification on how much exactly XP is gonna go. And there go Deceptidog, everyone. So I think depending on who the bot is, you might still have some opportunities here to just clear the entire base. Um, and still get more points, more XP. If you're just the kind of player that's just coming in there just trying to get your rewards and get out, it's going to be perfect for you because even though the battles are going to take longer, you will end up um, getting a lot more XP per round. So, like you see here, he left. I left the shock tower up, so now the combiner's going and the hologram's going after the shock tower. But um, in this particular case, I wind up getting all that additional. Well, Octo Punch max, so he didn't get any XP. Um, but I wind up getting a bunch more points. But I'm curious to hear in the chat what you guys think, and I'm gonna keep talking about it. But I do want to talk a little bit about the strategy that I might use if I'm just going for event completion. Like if you're just going in there saying, "Hey, I wanted the new Ironbison. I want the new Lightspeed." Um, I did a little bit of math earlier. Anybody that knows me probably can't believe that I was doing math. I'm reading Lou Mega's comment, and he says, "Deceptidog defected into an Autobot." Yeah, sure. I got you, J Funk. Give me a moment, and I do plan to actually cover that too. So J Funk asked, could I give an example with solo on with God Neptune and seeing what it looks like as far as points. And then I see John Luis Pastor joined us. Thanks for joining. And I see Big Joe joined us as well. So keep in mind, so Big Joe says if I can get 1,400 points in attack, hell yeah. So what it was, and then go back and look at the screen real quick. So yeah, it looks like you could get about 1120, 1120 max out of the prime zone. And one of the complaints was this was a lot different than what they showed on stream. What Space Ape showed on stream was placeholder values. This is closer to what we're thinking about, even though your playtesters did ask some questions uh, about these values. And I know based off of Sunstreaker Waz's reaction, I'm pretty certain he's going to talk about it tomorrow as well. Alright, so he's saying if we just drop the bot and ran God Neptune, so we can do that real quick. Now the thing is, it's still going to come down to how much you actually destroyed. So I'm just going to use the example. I'm just going to run him up to the top of the screen. I'll use his abilities. And so it's actually going to clear quite a bit out at the top of the screen. And then I'm just going to go directly to HQ. And fast forward because that's probably how we would actually do it. Alright, so now I'm just going to X out. And it crashed. So I wound up doing that again. But yeah, you'll only wind up getting what you will end up getting is gonna be your whatever you get for clearing that zone. It'll be whatever you get for what you would normally get for taking down HQ, and then you would get whatever else it is that you destroyed based off of that. So you gotta watch that meter there at the top. Alright, so we'll go here. And the thing is, even if you just go directly towards, see now, I'll say from a strategy standpoint, if I'm fighting this game mode, I am not going, I might still go directly to HQ, but what I'm not willing to do is go directly to HQ and X out because it costs you 15 fuel cells. Man, this thing is crashing left and right. So I might want to have that check to see if it's any bugs, but I think you guys get the point. So it seems to be bugging out every time I go directly to the HQ. Yeah, KG said he's definitely on Waza's side. Like I can see the good and bad in it. So I'm gonna go through hopefully while this actually loads up. If not, I'll probably just do it from my cell phone. But what I will say is the battles are gonna take longer. All right, the battles are gonna take longer. Um, so I know that's a sore point for people already, especially if you're using the combiner. Um, but one of the strategies that I was looking at with this thing is so I broke it down and I kind of just did it. I play poker from time to time, so I kind of just did it with just that that kind of quick math in my head, and I said, well, how often should I hit if I just want to complete the event? So for me, I was looking at completing the event, and I said, hey, if I'm up 16 hours a day, like talking about not losing any sleep, anything like that, if I'm up 16 hours a day, and like kind of back in the day, I used to just go in there after all my cool downs and I would just go hit the event. So I started looking at it like that and saying to myself, well, 16 hours a day, I said if I hit, you know, 3 times, then I would get about long story short, so if I hit zone 15, if I hit it about 3 times an hour during the hours that I'm awake, I would wind up with about 24K a day without any additional spending. And the other part to that would be that I would also rejuvenate all of my I would rejuvenate all of my points. I would rejuvenate all my points that I got from I mean, not points, but all my fuel cells. I rejuvenate all of my fuel cells that I had during that time period. Just mathematically speaking. So it's a lot to think about. Um, and it power leveling, trying to power level this way is gonna kind of suck because say you tried to just power level normally like you have been doing in this game for years. The problem that's going to come in is that you're going to still have the rest of the base left. Let me see if it'll actually let me just back out with just God Neptune. See here, well actually, yeah, because I didn't destroy HQ there. You see, it didn't give me anything. So, Candyman asks, does the Titan show up in Mayhem mode? No, the Titan doesn't show up. The Titan doesn't show up in events, period. And Giannis actually said that during their last live stream. So Titan's not going to show up in Mayhem mode. Let's see. Chris Harmon says I can do 150K, not lose an ounce of sleep, and then only play 10 hours a day. I mean, I've done that too. I don't particularly like doing it, but but I can do it. I've done it before. So some of the other things that I was looking at. So some of the stuff I put in my notes, I was like, you don't get a damn thing if you lose. Um, and it kind of changes the strategies for events a little bit because you're not just going to take your combiner. You're not going to take your combiner and just run. I swear, man. Like every time that I get down here and start streaming, like nobody comes down there. Okay, there goes my wife actually saying something to the Decepticon. But like here, the HQ's up there in the front. It's gonna let Predacon Inferno just take care of business. And so in this case, you retreat. Yeah, it's crashing every time it does that. So I hope it doesn't do that in the actual game. Um, so it makes me wonder, and I got to go look into it more. Like if I'm trying to power level, like how do I power level now? Do I go power level and take multiple bots with me, or do I, you know, or if I do I take one bot and that I know can does does a bot have to always take a buddy now? Like for years I was using like Impactor and like Malice and stuff like that. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, do I always got to take a buddy for power leveling now? Do I always got to take two bots? Um, because the combiner is going to be able to clear HQ. That's cool, but I guess it just depends on how you look at it. Like, is that going to be enough? If you got bots like Octo Punch and Sea Spray the whole time, do I always got to carry a buddy to go power level? And you'll be getting more than what you used to get, but you're still not just taking one bot, dropping it down there, and running your combiner. Um, it can be a little bit of a loss. And a lot of people saying, "Hey, man, this is gonna make the game take longer." I don't think that it's actually gonna take longer because you're gonna be. It depends on what type of player you are. Like, good example, like Chris was just saying, "Look, I'll do this event in like 10 hours." For him, it's probably gonna be frustrating. And Chris maxes out his bots. He does all this stuff. It's going to be frustrating for players like him because he power levels his bots most weekends, and I get it. For a player like myself, now I power level too, so I definitely have to figure out that piece, what my power leveling strategy is going to look like in Mayhem mode. But there are weekends where I was like, look, man, I just want to get my prizes. Like in a weekend like this one, 70K is already not. I don't want to say it's not hard. It does take some time and some commitment. But it's like, hey, man, like I'm glad it's this weekend when it's a bot that I want to go for. I probably won't pay a dime for this event. But if I was spending this weekend, which I already have some of my fuel cells, but you're getting more points per battle. But are you going to get? I don't know. The value isn't totally there. I mean, the value is not going to completely be there, depending on what you perceive as value. So now I have outpost bots that I didn't pop that because they're going back. They're gonna pop. But I say I can tell you this. Like I'm going out of town on Friday, and I'll probably run a lot of battles every hour on the hour. I'll probably run about 3 of them, like I was talking about earlier, and I'll probably be good event wise because I'm not going to spend that much time on screen. I'm going to go see the Atlanta Braves this weekend in Philly. So no, for that purpose, it's going to be cool. But I think what it's going to change to is that, and this thing is crashing its tail off. I think what's going to happen is that you're going to wind up having to take more bots than just one, or more than that, and it's going to mess with your combiner time a little bit. So because if you're taking longer per battle, that combiner is running for 15 minutes. It does affect that, and it does affect, like, if you do like I'm trying to do and just run like 3 battles an hour or however I decide to do it. Um, the combiner is going to be actively fighting longer. Um, hey, my homie Jeff is up there, and Jeff Gallagher, he asked, do the outpost bots count to the total? No, they do not. It is the only thing that counts is defenses and just your different buildings on the battlefield. Candyman says, I just hate using max bots and event seems wasteful. Um, Agreed. The only the only thing that I will say, and a lot of people say that because they don't see XP growing. The only advantage that I'll see that if you already got a bot that's maxed out and you use them in an event is that later on when they increase the XP cap, all of that all of that rolls over. It happened the last 2 times they added uh, additional levels for your XP. So all of that rolls over. So the bots that you're using in War, if you have a particular bot that you power level with, when the XP cap increases, excuse me, the level cap increases, all that XP will roll over with it. So, but everybody don't see it that way. It's a lot of people that is like, they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm using a maxed bot, and I'm using them in this event, and I don't like that. I mean, this depends on who it is. Like there was some bots that I had that was just like, hey, that's my power leveling bot. Like when I got Quellagon, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna run them. For bots like that, this game mode will actually be easy. It's all the other bots. Man, I'm about to close the door on Deceptidog in a minute. LJ Gaff said show us Deceptidog. He is upstairs. I live in a 3-story townhouse, and he's upstairs. It doesn't sound like it with as loud as he's barking. Let's see. Big Joe says Mayhem Mode equals great initiative. Bad idea. Not gonna repeat what King Grimlock said, but he ain't say nothing bad. He said bad execution is the apes game. And then King Grimlock made the same point that I made also. It says, so with at your scanner level, you're not gonna get you can get the 3 times points per battle. You can't get the you can't get the 3.3. Flash Striker says, "Bro, I only have squats with Zone 15, but he has a max scanner." So, um, yeah, like and that's kind of what I do. I usually do the Zone 15 thing, but I was doing the Zone 15 thing, taking my combiner. I mean, not that I can't get through it, but I say it's only a handful of bots, and most of those bots are probably maxed that can actually just tackle it by themselves. They could solo with. So what I think is going to end up happening is I'm probably going to wind up. It's going to wind up being my bots in the buddy. I got to sit down while I'm not at work and figure it out. Berserk says they should adjust ability points cap now. So Master Ninja asks, does it get stuck if you finish after using a binder? So it's doing that to me right now on playtest server. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that it's gonna break in a live game, but I mean, let's see. So that's a good question. Big Joe asks, is Mayhem Mode automatically picked? So I think that most people would be more accepting of this idea. It is automatically picked. Like that's the type of event you have. And I really think that if they just made like a button that lets you decide whether you want to do a mayhem battle or a regular battle, I think that would alleviate everything. Because right, like this weekend, I would probably just do the mayhem battle, even though there are bots that I want to level. Um, but the particular bot that I want to level could probably take Zone 15 by itself, and so I wouldn't be worried about it as much. I'd just be getting my XP faster. Um, but then there'd be other things, and it brings me to a whole bunch of scenarios in my head, like with something like this, and you know, what was it, a month ago they brought back a leaderboard event. Does this, make sense to do more leaderboards from an economic standpoint for Space Ape? Would this make more sense for them to bring back the leaderboards more often? Because people will have to push each other harder because people will be in mayhem mode. And so they haven't said that, nor did I ask, but it seems like that could be something that could be on the horizon for the future. Um, and it would be a great revenue builder for them because people will be have to push each other harder. But they also have to be using larger teams, and how would they feel about that? And so I know what you guys are saying in the chat. I know what the playtesters are saying. I know what they're saying in the Unicron chat. And there are some concerns there. Berserk, so Berserk is asking, he's saying it's not about power level and it's about points. Tell us how many points max did it. So the points, that's what your points look like. And so basically you're adding the two. So like right there where it's got prime zone net, when you destroy the HQ, you get rid of the three, you get the 320 points for that regardless. Now, if you destroy the rest of the base, well, as you destroy the rest of the base, the most points you could get would be an additional 800, and then it goes straight down the line for each one of your event zones. So you're adding those two, the orange line and the line above that together to see what your maxed amount of points that you could get is. So for me, earlier today, I've got a scanner that handles the prime zone, and so I did a battle today. I got like 536 points for um based off of that. So the max that I could get is 600 in that zone for my scanner level. So that's what I was basing my estimates off of. I was saying if I did 500 points for 3 battles every hour, then I will, every hour that I was awake, I wind up with like 24 points, 24k points a day or something like that. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, if you add, yeah, 360. So Big Joe's asking if So it's max 600 max for zone 15. So it looks like, and they may be some adjustments. So don't don't hold me to that because right now it's in testing. Obviously, the event's on Friday. There's been a lot of conversations about it on Discord between the test server and Unicron and everywhere else. The different chats on Discord. But as this is with this being the first product that we've been presented, it does show Zone 15 as being 360 or 240 plus a potential 360. Went up to 240 plus 360. So yeah, the max would be 600. So yeah, I think. Let me know what you think, though. I mean, you guys are already letting me know what you think, but I think that if they gave you the option of how you wanted to play it, and if you still wanted to go power level, or I think that with some adjustments, you can still gain XP and points faster. However, I do understand all the concerns. I genuinely do. I actually wrote them down in my notepads, and I've been talking about some of them this entire time. So, um, it's killing the combiner solo, it's killing the bot solo, um, because you could potentially end up spending 15 points. You could, I mean, 15. I keep saying points. You could end up spending 15 fuel cells and to destroy the HQ, and then winding up getting the points that you get for the old system. So just to know what you're getting into this weekend, I'm probably going to do it the way that I was talking about doing it, because I'll find a couple of teams, and I might not use full teams. I might use two or three bots to see if I can max out as much XP. I mean, you are getting additional XP as well compared to a normal event. Like Zone 16, or excuse me, Prime Zone is saying plus almost a 4,000% difference. They got it at 3,950% additional XP. So the XP is going up substantially also, but it's just like you're not gonna be able to sit up there and like power level as easily. All right. And the last thing I wanted is to talk about. So when I talk about events, I always want to talk about what I'm working on. And so I need to go to my live account because for whatever reason, this bot doesn't actually work well on the test server. Like they actually got his damage jacked up on the test server. And so I want to pull mines up on the live server. I already gave him a little bit of work this week. So just give me a second and I'll show what I'm working on this weekend. And luckily, it's a bot that's going to be able to run Zone 15 on his own. So that'll be good. That'll be good because that will enable me to still power level them. All right, so Monty joined the chat, and I didn't talk to you earlier, so welcome, Monty. And he says he's talking to Berserk, asking, "What's the point of spending 3 times fuel cells if we aren't getting at least 3 times the points as the baseline?" So that is one of the things that came up in testing and in Unicron. So there may be some adjustments because they, long story short, uh, folks was like, "Hey man, what's up with the math on this?" Because it's not perfectly just 3 times the amount for 3 times the fuel cells. All right, so now I'm switching over to my live account, and I need to spend some alloy and Z Energon. But what I was looking at is I think that this week I'm going to go work on Predacon Inferno, and I only got him at level 57 right now, but I got some coins on me right now, so I'll probably just coin them out of it. But right here at level 57, I was looking at his damage, and I didn't recognize this in playtest because what we got originally in playtest was very very powerful bot. and then it wound up changing to something where he was doing like 2,000, and it wasn't like 2,000 per second. It was just 2,000, even though the tooltip said something different. So they made a recent fix to him, and now he's starting to get the damage every second. So even right here at level 57, and I'm actually going to run it real quick. At level 57, he can actually hold his own in a lot of different zones, or at least do a bunch of damage. And so in a mode like this, when I'm trying to level a bot like this, um, might be worth taking a look at. So here, and I was actually kind of impressed because this is what kind of what he looked like when we first got him in playtest. So it's Leo Prime for you guys on the Autobot side, and I was kind of looking to use him similar to how I use like a sea spray or something like that. Oh well, for me, Octo Punch. I speak to Autobots so often that I start speaking like Autobot. But this is somebody that I know that I should be able to put on a team by himself and can trust. Now, granted, I got a Titan up there, so the Titan obviously won't be in the event. So I'm not even going to use his ability because he's not going to be available in the event. But even at low levels, man, the dude destroys a lot of stuff. And the thing is, I just got to make sure that I also destroy the HQ. Like in this case, I'm going to run into some outpost bots there, so I'll actually use my Titan to finish this particular battle, which I won't be able to do in the event. But this is what I was saying, is like I might wind up like power leveling with a buddy at this point and just grabbing onto all that additional XP. And the thing is because like when I had him in playtest, he wasn't he wasn't doing that great, and even then I lost. But um, he wasn't doing that great because um, his damage wasn't working properly, which they just recently fixed. So um, that's who I'm going to be working on, and probably other couple of key bots. Um, I'm probably going to work on my T2 Megatron this weekend. I got him at like level 62, I think, right now. Um, he'll be able to hold his own, and a couple others that probably be able to hold their own. Um, we'll just see how it goes. KG says you don't need to level Predacon Inferno. He does a lot of damage, man. I think I was looking at it when I was looking at it. I think he gets close to like I want to say like it's a crazy amount. Like with his G1 and when I'm like maxed out and everything, like that dude does like 2K a second or something like that, or something crazy. And they just looked into him and just fixed all of his damage. So I was looking to just possibly just doing some stacks with well not stacks, but doing kind of leapfrogging the abilities of Predacon Inferno and Octo Punch. But if that doesn't work, then I'm just gonna go back and start using T2, and that's really that simple for me. But I'll say I'm looking at some large AOE options. And see, Cuddy Fox joined the chat and that says, you know, I know I've been using the 4-star Leo Convoy, and I have his 5-star, and he does major damage to a base easily. So yeah, me using Leo, you using Leo Prime or whatever, then yeah, that he does a lot of damage, and he does it pretty easily. Big Joe says Predacon Inferno is legit, and the thing is, I never leveled him because I was working on other stuff, and because he wasn't working properly on the test server or the lab server, um, the damage wasn't doing enough. But once they fixed his damage, dude, he's pretty solid. He's actually becoming one of my favorites in the game with what he's doing right now. So hopefully it stays like that, because I know I was making those predictions last week, and I said if he does wind up going into the batch next or whatever, I just don't want us getting in play test and we toy with him, and then he comes out sorry, because right now he does a good amount of damage. Yeah, and then one thing that did come up in the chat is if there's an anti-fire core, and I am starting to see more of those anti-fire cores, and I think we're starting to see more of those anti-fire cores because probably because of T2 and Optimal Optimus. Um, but I'm one of those Scully users now. They finally taught me into using Skull Smasher, so um, you just got to make sure that you take the fire core out at that point. So it's another variable that I got to think about now, because I was ignoring fire cores for a while, but now you got to actually take them into account when you're using some of these fire bots. So yeah, and a lot of people are using that, like Big Joe saying, what about anti-acid next to an anti-fire core? A lot of people are doing that, primarily because of Arc and Nemesis. They doing that near the back, the anti-acid near the back, because of the the ability from the Titan. But yeah, now you gotta. It does put more stuff up there. I'm already for Octo Punch. I already gotta start taking a look at um, your lightning rod cores. You naturally should be looking out for FFD. So if you're looking out for the force field disruptors, it really is turning more and more and more into Billbot wars every day. So, but all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day. Um, Next week I'll still be on Wednesday, so I look forward to seeing you guys then, and I also look forward to seeing you all on the battlefield. Freezy is out.